Whether it be Lionel Messi missing a penalty in the Copa America final against Chile, or whether it be LeBron James missing back-to-back free throws with the Lakers down by one in overtime to the San Antonio Spurs. Why do the greatest athletes falter in the biggest moments? Let's find out. What is up, everybody? Jacob Stockton here with Amateur Hour Sports, where we give you raw and unfiltered sporting content Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and Saturday. So if it is your first time here with me today, maybe you like insight and opinion on the sporting world, and maybe you want some informative videos on the history of sport, make sure you're subscribed to Amateur Hour Sports. Again, so the video today, the biggest and greatest athletes, how they managed to make such very amateur level mistakes in the biggest moments of the biggest games. Like, they're getting paid all this money. They're so high profile. How do they make a mistake that somebody like myself would make in a certain circumstance? Well, let's get into it. Looking at these scenarios from a sports psychology standpoint, when we enter these big moments, we no longer exude the quality that we normally possess naturally. For the athletes at the very highest level of their sport, they can produce this quality, this high level of quality in their sport as if it is almost second nature. Some of the most intricate parts of their sport can just be executed naturally. It's second nature, like I said. It's like, if your house is pitch black at night and you need to maneuver around the entire house, even though you can't see, since you've done this so many times, since you've maneuvered around your house so often, you can do that even without being able to see. It is second nature for you to just walk around your house, that even in pitch black, you can do it without bumping into anything. That's how blind people can walk around their house without seeing anything. They've done it so often that it is now second nature for them to do so. It's a bit like that when you get onto a basketball court, a soccer field, whatever. The athletes have done this so many times. There's so much repetition in their training that they just produce it without even thinking about it. Somebody at a very low level has to think about each little aspect of the game that they perform, but these high level athletes, they don't think about it. It is just a natural occurrence. But when athletes enter the biggest moments of their career, when they enter those highest profile games and the biggest moments in those games, a moment where you are expected to succeed, let's say a game 7 in an NBA playoff game, your team is down by 1 with 1 second on the clock and you have 2 free throws. Or let's say you're in a World Cup final in soccer and it's a penalty shootout. It is 4-4 and you are the last shooter in the 5th round. If you score, your team wins the World Cup, and if you miss, it progresses. Or even, let's make it even more high profile. Let's say your team is down 5-4 in the shootout and you're the last shooter in the 5th round. If you miss, you lose. You're out of the World Cup. You have to score to extend it. Those high profile moments. There are similar moments to this in hockey, but let's say in a shootout, it's not always on the shooter for missing. Typically, if you go by statistics, the shooter doesn't usually score. But if you go by soccer, if you miss a penalty, you have fucked up. It's your fault if the penalty does not go in. It's not on the goalie to save it. If it goes in past the goalie, it's whatever. It's a miracle if the goalie saves it. But you need to score your penalty. And in free throws in basketball, you should hit your free throws. You need to hit your free throws, especially in those high-profile situations. It's called the charity stripe. It's free points. Like a pro basketball player who shoots the ball so many times a day, how can they not hit a free shot from that close in? And we've seen many athletes, the greatest athletes, falter in these moments over the course of history. Like Karl Malone for the Utah Jazz. If Karl Malone could hit free throws, him and John Stockton would probably have a ring at this point. The reason the Chicago Bulls could beat them both those times in the playoffs is because, in the NBA Finals that is, it is because Karl Malone typically missed those free throws that could have sealed more games. Chicago Bulls stole a lot of games because Karl Malone faltered at the free throw line. And it is not just him. There are many others, but that is a very glaring one because Malone and Stockton have never won a championship. And if Karl Malone could hit free throws, maybe that would have been different. In these big moments, we no longer produce our high level of quality subconsciously. We now return to a state of mind in which we are at a novice level in those moments. That second nature ability just completely disappears. You return to that mindset you had when you were between maybe the ages of 6 and 10. Obviously, some players started at different times, but when you're at that novice, that amateur level of your game, you had to completely telegraph every aspect of your game. You need to think about everything you do and how to execute it correctly. So let's say you're in a soccer game, just a simple ground pass. You need to think, okay, I need to time my run up. I need to plant with my opposite foot correctly. I need to hit it side foot. I need to hit it with this part of my foot with this much power. I need to put this much pace on it and everything. You think about every little thing. When you take a free throw, you can't just go up and down, put it up in the hoop. You need to think about, okay, bend the knees. What's the grip on the ball? Am I gripping the ball correctly? When will I release as I'm coming up? As I come up, I need to release off of maybe my index and my middle finger, or just my middle finger, depending on the player. As I come up, I need to follow through and watch it go in. It's not just up and down and hit like maybe in a practice scenario. In these high pressure situations, we think and think and think about every little aspect of how we're going to execute such a basic play like a free throw or a penalty in soccer. Like a penalty in soccer, one-on-one with the goalie in game, when there's people around you and it just falls to you, that's going in like 10 out of 10 times. In a penalty shootout, nobody on you, you have all the time in the world from 12 yards out in such a huge net. All you got to do is put it past the goalie. How is that so difficult to achieve? Well, in those big moments, you're thinking about your run-up. How many steps am I going to take? You got to think about planting again before you shoot. What part of the ball are you going to hit with your foot? What part of your foot are you going to use to hit the ball? What direction is it going to go in? What area of the net? Are you going to aim high? Are you going to aim low? If you aim high, what if you put it too high? If you aim low, what if the goalie saves it? What if the goalie goes the right way? In the normal soccer setting, you just smash the ball past the goalie. You don't worry about where the goalie is going to go. You just put the ball past him. But in a penalty shootout, all of a sudden you got to think about, well, what if the goalie guesses the right way? It's no longer just putting the ball in. You have to more deceive the goalie now, and you have to think about everything a lot more. We think very critically about every little detail about how we're going to execute this play. And that is how you were when you were a novice in your sport. You had to think about every little thing in order to execute correctly. At this point in the greatest athletes' careers, when they're in these biggest moments, they have done it so many times that, yes, it was second nature for them. But because this high-pressure situation is there and present, it surmounts that ability. It's a huge tidal wave of fear that you're going to make a mistake. And that is why the greatest athletes, the truly greatest athletes and the greatest winners achieve more than these other ones who falter, because they don't have this gene that brings them to this state of mind. They are the best at suppressing that state of mind and that sports psychology phenomenon where they return to that novice state of mind. And that is why they can still succeed in those big moments. Like Michael Jordan, every time it got to a big moment, he was money in the playoffs, and that's why he's 6-0 in the finals. Like when it comes to a person like me, I play highly competitive soccer at a university level, but that's the highest level I'll ever achieve. And even in those big moments for me, I still falter sometimes because I return to this novice state of mind. I overthink everything. Hell, I play intramural basketball at school, and even when I'm taking a big free throw there, all this wave of pressure comes over me. I have to overthink everything that I do. So imagine the pressure for somebody playing in a Game 7, a World Cup final, a Champions League final. The pressure can overcome you, and it can just completely swallow you up and cause you to underperform. The second nature quality that is there 99% of the time is no longer present. And the greatest athletes, like I said, can overcome this and still manage to achieve in these scenarios. The ones with ice in their veins are the ones who are going to get that championship. Even if you are not the best player, guys like Eli Manning, in those high pressure big moments, can still execute these great plays to overcome in games like the Super Bowl. It separates the legend from players who go missing in big games. Anybody can produce in a simple setting with their friend just out in the park, but it's the true legends of the game who can execute even in the biggest moments at the highest level. That is the separation. Thank you for watching this video. Be sure to like the video if you like, and subscribe to Amateur Hour Sports for more content just like this. As well, hit the notification bell. We post 4 times a week. Stay up to date with all the NBA, soccer, and other sporting content on Amateur Hour Sports. At the end of the day, I believe what I say, and if you disagree, that's okay. See you again next time.